If you could take your seats, please, we're going to begin now. If you could take your seats. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ken Wallach, president of NDI. I want to welcome you to our celebration of the 2011 Averill Harriman Democracy Award and the Madeleine K. Albright Grant. Tonight we honor the Harriman Award to three individuals who passed away in the last year: Geraldine Ferraro, Richard Holbrook, and Charles Manat. Each of them was essential to our existence and to our work. Each of them added their commitment at a time when democracy building was no sure thing. Since 1984, NDI has worked in more than 100 countries with, at last count, 1,400 civic groups, 720 political parties, 10,000 parliamentarians, and 1,300 women's rights organizations. NDI has brought people together with diverse experiences and expertise. The people-to-people nature of our work has been expanded in recent years to include online tools to impart knowledge, share ideas, and connect people and groups. This diversity of democratic experience is more than a symbol. It has a practical value. We know that there is no one model for democracy, but rather many models and many experiences. We know, too, that as the community of democracies has grown, democratic practice has become inseparable from democratic cooperation and solidarity. But the recipients of tonight's Harriman Award are a reminder that this cooperation and solidarity not only reaches across borders, regions, and continents, they also cross generations. With these three leaders in mind, it is significant that tonight we bestow the Madeleine Albright Grant on the Egyptian women's organization, ACT. With the Arab Spring, we see ACT as a vindication of all the work that has gone before, even more because it focuses on the empowerment of women and their inclusion in a new Egypt. For Jerry, Chuck, and Richard, ACT is a legacy of their hope. There are a number of individuals and groups whom I want to acknowledge tonight. I want to particularly recognize our board of directors, whose leadership, commitment, and generosity are central to the Institute's efforts. I would like to recognize those who are here tonight and to ask them to stand as their names are called: Bernie Aronson, Hattie Babbitt, Elizabeth Bagley, Joan Kalamakidis, Robin Carnahan, Howard Dean, Jean Eidenberg, Pat Griffin, Rochelle Horowitz, Peter Kovler, Rob Libertor, Ken Melly, Molly Razor, Nancy Rubin, Elaine Shokas, Mike Steed, Maurice Templesman, Linda Thomas, Rich Verma, and Randy Weingarten. Madeleine Albright was the Institute's founding vice chair some 27 years ago. She left briefly for a couple of obscure government posts and returned as chairman in 2001. Her leadership has expanded the reach and enhanced the standing of NDI in so many ways. With us tonight are board members and staff of the National Endowment for Democracy and our 3 affiliated institutes, IRI, the Solidarity Center, and SIPE. We are honored by the presence of members and staff of the Senate and House. The Congress has always been and remains an inspiration for democratic activists around the world. And I want to particularly thank Senators Mikulski, Landrieu, and Gillibrand, and Representatives Engel and Maloney for joining us. And I would like to also recognize the Governor of Maryland, Governor O'Malley. NDI has benefited from the support of 5 administrations, and we are heartened by the Obama administration's dedicated commitment to a more democratic world. And we are pleased that officials from the White House, State Department, USAID, and the Millennium Challenge Corporation are with us. They represent our support network and our allies in the field. And we are deeply honored that the Secretary of State will be delivering tonight's keynote address. At its heart, NDI is a public-private partnership, so I especially want to single out those who made this evening possible: the corporations, trade unions, foundations, and individual donors. Each of them is listed in the program and on the screens and gratefully acknowledged. I want to welcome the diplomatic corps and political leaders from abroad, and I would like to express our gratitude to those in this room and hundreds of others around the globe who volunteer their time to assist NDI's efforts. Above all, I want to recognize Vice President Sherry Bryan and NDI's talented staff, 88 nationalities in all. Working in environments that are challenging, remote, and sometimes dangerous, they are the heart of NDI, and in their dedication, they are our face to the world. NDI is not alone in carrying out its democratic development mission. We are part of a growing global community that includes governments, non-governmental organizations, and intergovernmental bodies, both here and abroad. Each of us benefit from our mutual support. This democratic support community is united in its belief of a common humanity, that in this growing interdependent world, we are truly responsible for one another. We are privileged to have Walter Isaacson here tonight to make the presentation of this year's Madeleine Albright Grant and to summarize the panel discussion on the Arab Spring that preceded this dinner. In truth, you cannot introduce Walter Isaacson without resorting to superlatives. To put it another way, how does any one human being accomplish all these things? Walter is president and CEO of the Aspen Institute, the former chairman and CEO of CNN, and the former managing editor of Time magazine. President Obama appointed him to chair the Broadcasting Board of Governors. These days, we know him especially as the author of what will surely become one of the best-selling biographies of all time, Steve Jobs. He also wrote 3 other remarkable biographical works on Albert Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, and Henry Kissinger. He co-authored The Wise Men, which has become the seminal study of the U.S. foreign policy establishment in the mid-20th century. One of those chronicled was Averell Harriman, the man NDI honors with its annual Democracy Award. In recent weeks, when he is not speaking and writing about Steve Jobs, Walter chairs Teach for America and is the vice chair of Partnerships for a New Beginning, which supports private sector investments and partnerships in the Muslim world. Our own Madeleine Albright chairs the organization, which was initiated by Secretary Clinton. Ladies and gentlemen, Walter Isaacson.
Thank you very much. We started this evening with a panel on Arab democracy, and where the reform movement is headed. And I would love it if I could to introduce the people who are on that panel, and you could give them a round of applause. Atiya Lagwali from Libya, Sheikh Mohammed Abu Lahoum from Yemen, Dr. Amal Habib Al-Youssef from Bahrain. Would you all stand up? I can't really see. There's Dr. Mohammed Al-Abdallah of Syria, Rafat Al-Akhali from Yemen, Dr. Munira Fakhara from Bahrain, and somebody you'll see in a moment, without spoiling the surprise for you, Dr. Azza Kamal of Egypt. I was asked by Ken to moderate this panel, which was an incredibly easy job because everybody was talking, they were filled with ideas, and it moved very quickly. I was also asked by Ken to summarize the panel, and that's a very difficult job because so much was said and it was so interesting. But let me just point out a couple of things that they said. A lot of us who have watched the Arab Spring, we live by this sort of new maxim that each of these are separate. Each of these revolutions are separate. That we shouldn't look upon them as one big movement. I think in a lot of ways the panelists disabused us of that idea. Whether it was Rafat talking about the youth movement and how on the Facebook pages the people in Yemen and Libya and Syria and Egypt all work together, or Dr. Kamal talking about women's movements, how they all work together, and all the panelists talking about how the reform movement in the Arab Spring has helped transcend the sectarian strife between Sunnis and Shias and other groups in that region. It became very clear that, like in 1848 or 1968, a lot of these reform movements and democracy movements are connected by a common set of values. Secretary Albright talked about those values, which are basic human values that we all yearn for wherever we live or whatever sect we're from. The value of being respected and having a role in the governance of your society. I did particularly appreciate Mr. Lagali of Libya saying that in Libya and in Texas are the two places you can wave an American flag now and be cheered. I do think NDI does not have a chapter in Texas, but you're doing a great job in Libya. So it's my pleasure now to present the Madeleine K. Albright Grant, which is bestowed by the by NDI each year to honor an international organization that creates greater roles for women in political and civic life. Secretary Albright was NDI's founding vice chair, and since 2001, its chairman. Her own life story speaks directly to the potential that women throughout the world have. But I'd also like to say her own life story speaks to the potential that every human being has in furthering the cause of democracy. Because she was an exile from the twin evils, the twin opponents to the causes of democracy of the 20th century, Nazism and communism. She found her home in the U.S. and contributed immeasurably to the development of our own democracy while never forgetting the struggles of people who fight for freedom everywhere. This year's Madeleine Albright Grant is awarded to Egypt's Appropriate Communication Techniques for Development Center, known as ACT. In this year of the Arab Spring, NDI is proud that the recipients helped strengthen the political and social engagement of Arab women. Though not always credited, except for in our panel earlier this evening, women have played a critical role in inspiring the events in Tunisia, Yemen, Egypt, Bahrain, and elsewhere. We know that the advancement of women is central to development, central here in our country. My wife is involved with the Washington Area Women's Foundation, but it's helped me learn that women are essential to development in every part of the world and in every community. The status of women is particularly of concern in the Arab world, where in some nations more than half the women are illiterate and they don't have the political power they do elsewhere. They're impeded by laws and by cultural attitudes. There is a real concern that women will be sidelined in the aftermath of the revolutions when the protests give way to governing. On the other hand, there's a real opportunity that the Arab Reform Spring will mean the great liberation of women coming to their proper seats of power and helping to lead the Arab world and the rest of the world to a better place. ACT is a counterbalance to the concerns of what could happen. It was founded in 1992 as an Egyptian NGO working in development and women's rights. It provides training and consultation for civic institutions that advance not just women's rights, but all human rights. The center brings together a distinguished team of experts, administrators, and development specialists. Its operational units include elements devoted to training, human resources, gender issues, civic education, and media watch. In the aftermath of 2011, ACT is on the cutting edge of political change in Egypt. Its vision statement asserts, "We are a group of women and men activists in the field of advocating women's rights, eager to build a just and democratic community where all forms of discrimination are eliminated, whether based on sex, race, color, creed, ideology, political views, or social class." That's a manifesto and a vision statement we all could learn from wherever we are. ACT leads political coalitions that are working to change the status of women in Egypt's legal system and society. It is involved in efforts to pass laws against domestic violence and to punish sexual harassment. Ultimately, ACT is helping to construct the next Egypt, a new Egypt. With more than 5,000 years of history, this ancient land is both a traditional, yet also a very modern society. So NDI is privileged to bestow the 2011 Madeleine K. Albright Grant on ACT. We hope this award will help ACT assume a greater role in determining the future of Egypt. And to accept the grant tonight was one of the stars of our panel earlier this evening, Dr. Azil Kamel, the director of ACT and the founder of the Women's Research Center. Dr. Kamel holds a PhD in civic education, published many studies in the areas of sexual harassment, the impact of violence on women, the image of men and women in the media, and many other fields. She has worked with NGOs and private organizations to build up the participation of women. Dr. Kamel is the coordinator of Egypt's Women's Mock Parliament. She was a founding member of the Feminist Coalition, which was established after the revolution earlier this year. If I can invite you up, Dr. Kamel, so that we, I hope Secretary Albright and the rest of us, can present you with the 5th annual Madeleine K. Albright Award. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry about mangling your names. I sure appreciate what you've done.
Thank you. On behalf of ACT, I wish to thank NDI for awarding us the 2011 Madeleine K. Albright Grant. We are especially honored that Secretary Albright is with us tonight. Dr. Albright, you are an example of women's empowerment and participation. Your career is an inspiration to ACT and the women of Egypt. The Arab spring was more than what was reported in the media. Tahrir Square in Cairo certainly was the focal point, but people came into the streets across Egypt. Women had the courage to join the front lines alongside men, not only in the capital, but throughout the country. We helped make the revolution. Now, we wanted to shape the society that will emerge, like women everywhere who are invested in our families and our children. Working together, we can achieve what seemed impossible. A few short months ago, democratic rights for all and the proper place of women in Egypt's public life. Our purpose at ACT is to unite women across Egypt and throughout the Arab world, reaching out to women everywhere and helping them find common ground. The near absence of women in the new government and likelihood that few women will be elected to parliament next month is of a great concern to us. It is this parliament that will write the new constitution, and the act is reaching out to women throughout Egypt to build a coalition that cannot be ignored and will not be silenced. This award will help me and my wonderful team at ACT to be there every step of the way, participating in the processes and providing the pressure that will be necessary to encourage and safeguard the realization of our collective dreams in Egypt. The quest for freedom, dignity, and justice that inspired the revolution is not just the privilege of men. Egyptian women wanted to lead empowered lives, free of violence, with equal access to the decision-making process. That has been our message, and the Madeleine K. Albright Grant will enable us to carry it forward to the men and women of Egypt and the Arab world. Thank you, NDI, for your support and your vote for confidence in the future of my country. Thank you.
This is the eating portion of the dinner. We'll be back in 25 minutes.